Hello Thistledown gang, welcome back to my channel if you've already been here. If not, hi. It is absolutely lovely to have you here. Please stay, and by that I mean subscribe. If you've listened, no, not listened, maybe also listened, if you've watched my latest Thrift Hauls, you might know this sound. It is my "this is another project" sound. And I thought, why not make videos about how I tackle these projects and actually do some of them instead of just letting them rot in one of my UFO bins. And this is this video. I think about making this a sign for the craft room for when I need it to be dark in there and I don't want anyone to come in and spoil some stuff that is photosensitive. I started working on the door sign by sanding it off because I wanted the paint to stick better, because I wanted to paint it, or rather first spray paint it and then paint it, never mind. And of course I wore a mask because that is stuff you just don't want in your system, neither this nor the spray paint. I used this thermo resistant spray paint because that was the black spray paint I had, and I thought it was easier to actually spray the thing twice than to bother with removing the writing that was already on there. So to keep the shabby chic appeal that I actually kind of liked, I tried a hack that I read about ages ago when shabby chic was still all the rage in the blogosphere, so before all of the other social media stuff. Never mind. It's where you rub a candle over all of the higher bits of the thing you want to paint and then paint over it, and then you can supposedly just rub off the paint on the raised bits. Now that only worked medium well. I mean, it kind of worked. Maybe I should have just used more wax, but I escalated the implements with which to rub it off bit by bit. I then ended up at the pot cleaner, and in the end I just caved and used sandpaper, which worked. And you can see the metal as well as the paint underneath, so the shabby chic thing, okay, we can check that off. And I had made kind of patterns for my designs before I spray painted it, so I could do that while everything was drying. I wanted there to be the word Dunkelkammer on the sign, which just means dark room in German, like dark room as in the place where you handle photosensitive material, not kind of a party dungeon darkroom thing. I did reference a lot of Art Nouveau writing in my design because that's just what I like, and I wanted it to be a bit heavier than the things you might usually associate with Art Nouveau, because it's supposed to be more of an homage to German Jugendstil rather than French Art Nouveau, which is a lot lighter, and the German one is a bit heavier. I then traced it through carbon paper and then traced it again with a pencil before I went to work with my acrylic paints. I was really positively surprised by these paintbrushes that I used. They were like a pack of 5 for €3 or something at Teddy, which is basically our dollar store. And the finer ones are actually kind of on par with some of my miniature painting brushes, which is pretty good. I had a bit of a bother with these slightly pink parts that you might see where I wiped away some errors I made with the dark red paint, but those actually came off very easily with a simple normal eraser. So if you ever have this problem, that is actually the solution, and I was baffled about that. It was a lot less hassle than I expected. I was fully prepared to go in with the spray paint again and just spray a bit of it somewhere and then do it with a brush and make the pink disappear like that. Yeah, I could just erase it. So the motif is mostly inspired by German Expressionism, which is a part of film history. There's kind of a forebearer to some horror movie types. Very dark, very, well, expressive, that's why it's called expressionism. Super dramatic shots, and even by silent film standards, dramatic makeup. It was just something that was on my mind due to uni at the time, and therefore the eye with a very dramatic under eye shadow, basically. And also it is a darkroom sign, and that has to do something with light and dark, and you know, that's something that has to do with seeing, so the eye was kind of, it just kind of worked for what I wanted it to be. And it works with a kind of late Jugendstil type writing, and it's also very dramatic. I like the idea of this being something that could hang on a photographer's workshop in the late 1910s or the early 1920s. So I wanted there to be some sort of glitter, and I first tried my liquid gold from Vallejo, which did not really work out, and then a broken metallic marker came to the rescue and kind of worked for these bits and pieces, because I just like a bit of gilding in my projects, especially if it is dramatic in the first place. And then I gave it an additional coat of clear spray paint and attached another chain, and that was it. The thing is, they have clasp backs, I think is what you call them. They're clip-ons, and clip-ons hurt my ears, and I don't like that, and I'm always afraid of losing them. So I might actually transform one of those into something I can wear on my clicker hoops, and the other one into a necklace. But I usually don't like chokers because they make me feel like I'm choking. Now this feels a bit unfair, because I had a lot to say about the door sign, because there was an actual design process involved, and in this case it's fairly straightforward, I guess. But I still wanted to show the bits that I'm showing, even though I don't have to say as much about it. So I started with removing the hardware that I did not want, so the clip back thingies, and then adding another jump ring, or a different jump ring, to the one I wanted to make into a matching earring, because I usually just wear separate earrings that do not match. And then I found a matching length of velvet ribbon from my craft hoard, and started to attach the other heart. So while the crown kind of screams 19th century, probably Victorian, or at least turn of the century, I kind of saw this motive-wise as a early modern Catholic saint inspired piece. You know, like one of those statues with a Sacred Heart in front of them, probably of Mary, that are being paraded through the streets. It probably doesn't help that the velvet ribbon is blue, and a very, very Mary-coded blue as well. I'm not Catholic, by the way, but my grandfather was, and I grew up with my grandparents, so there we go. Alas, not a lot of processions. So I found these very much matching the heart beads in my stash, but they were kind of dull, and I wanted to use them in some way. So I used this glazing stuff, which is kind of a rather strong jewelry glue that is also used to kind of sort of a bit of 3D glaze over things, to, well, glaze them over and make them shiny. And after a bit of struggle, I got the idea of putting them on a pin and preparing them there, and then also drying them on the pin, which was actually a really good idea and worked quite well. And you can see that they sort of resemble pomegranate beads. Not beads, seeds, I mean. Pomegranate seeds. And that, of course, opens another can of worms of mythology, additionally to the pseudo-Catholic saint. And because that wasn't enough, I took 4 more jump rings and made sort of pseudo bearings, fittings, bezels for my pseudo pomegranates on my pseudo saint inspired choker. That's a lot. But what I did was stringing up first the jump ring and then the slightly larger bead. And the bead being slightly larger means it doesn't slip through the jump ring, and the jump ring just looks like it is a fitting for a gem that is actually just a plastic bead that I went over with glue. But never mind, it's about looks, it's not about substance in this case. Sometimes I just really like a theatralic piece of jewelry. No, let's face it, I always like a theatralic piece of jewelry. And in this case, it really is very not super cheap, because not everything is plastic and it is still handcrafted. But there is a very stagey feel to this, and I absolutely love it. So I was so pleased with how these bearing type fitting thingies turned out. I am so willing to do that again, maybe on a larger scale, to, I don't know, adorn a piece of lob clothing or something, because it's not very useful for my everyday stuff that I just want to chuck in the laundry machine. But yeah, aside from that, I really like that idea, and I'm really happy that I came up with it. Like, look at it, it's super pretty. There are 2 cast iron snails. Apparently I thought it was a great idea to buy these. I think I wanted to maybe put a coat of lacquer on them to make them definitely not stain anything, and then use them as fabric weights or something. So for the snails, those are super straightforward, and I think this is a good time to not to introduce today's sponsor, because we do not have one, but to say that these aren't really tutorials or anything. I'm not claiming that this is super creative or special or anything. No, wait, it is creative. I'm not here to put myself down. But it's more meant as an inspiration for you to see what you can do with stuff from the thrift store. And in this case, little cast iron snails that are just painted with super cheap clear nail polish. And I tried to keep them on these markers, and it does not work. It will fall in 3, 2, 1. Oh, not actually. Oh, no, now. So stupid. Oh, the poor little snail. But yeah, I painted them on both sides and then decided to stick something under them, because cast iron, or iron in general, has a very regrettable property when it comes to fabric, because it stains. If you've ever tried dyeing something in an enamel pot where the enamel has chipped, and you have tried tea dye or anything, you will probably have black spots on the thing you dyed, and this is super annoying. And that's either from a bit where your pot is chipped, or the what's it called? You know, the tiny clip thingies. Nails? No. Staples. The tiny staples that go through your tea bags, if you happen to use tea bags for dyeing. And that is because the metal reacts and then basically saddens your dye. That's what it's called. And makes it darker, and you can do a lot of interesting stuff with that, but most of the time you don't want it. And as I wanted to use the snails as pattern weights or fabric weights mostly, not that I mostly use them for that since then, because I have used them. Also, this is the craft foam that I used for the snail feet, basically. And the all-purpose glue. I'm not sponsored by Patex. Please, Patex, sponsor me. That would be so nice. Never mind. Where was I? I wanted to use these on fabric, and therefore really did not want any annoying surprises with that. And yeah, the glue is a two, not compound, but two-part thingy where you put the glue on both things that you want to glue together, and then you have to wait a bit until it is kind of dry to the touch, and then you press it together, and then it is very, very fast and very much stuck. And then I just went and cut them out. Somehow I think these snails are so charming. They make me pretty happy. Kind of feels unfair that I'm not going to record this part a second time, because the other two, like the DIYs that came before this, I still kind of gave a fuck about. And oh my god, they are so adorable! Now that I see it in a viewfinder, it's cute. Might just have to find the right ribbon or chain for that. So this one is basically as straightforward as the first one. I found another length of velvet ribbon because I am kind of obsessed with velvet ribbons, as were people in the 19th century, by the way. I have this weird little project that I haven't told you about, I think, here on the channel, where I thoroughly translate a lady's journal from the 19th century from German to English. Never mind, but they at some point I might tell you more about that. Let me know in the comments if you want to hear about my weird obsession. But nearly every second notion, basically every notion that isn't lace during the 1850s is velvet ribbon. It's just a lot. Mostly it's black, by the way. It's mostly black velvet ribbon on everything, like on yellow, on white, on blue. They have very different ideas about clashing colors than we do, which is super interesting, by the way. So yeah, if you want to hear about my weird obsession, tell me in the comments. So this one was even more straightforward than the blue ribbon, or the hard one, or however you want to call it. But I wanted something extra, and I happen to have these. These are sweet water pearls, like actual pearls, not just weird beads or something, that I scavenged from a necklace from the thrift store. And I tried to find the one that would work the best, because you might have realized by now, but the sheen of the black pearls really matches with the sort of iridescent black glaze that goes around the pendant. And I really like this type of glaze. I have a tea mug that basically looks like that. And I wanted to have a bit more of this. Also, only the pendant would have been kind of sad, a bit boring. By the way, I love how used the pendant is. How the glaze has been worn away on the edges, because that means it has been loved before I found it. And I hope I will love it as well. I mean, I already do in a way, but I guess I'll have to wear it more to give it back that feeling. And I love how the purple ribbon matches the rose in the middle. And because, of course, I filmed the intro after the whole other stuff, this is
these are the results.
So the snails, without any surprise, came out lovely. I actually use them a lot, mostly in projects I cannot tell you about yet because I have not edited anything about them yet and I don't want to either spoil it or jinx it. But yeah, they work and they are used. I said it while I was making it, or well, you saw me making it, but I'm so pleased with how the pseudo garnets over the heart came out. I'm so happy with that. After the video where I talked about not really liking chokers, someone suggested using elastic instead of normal ribbons for chokers, which is also a great idea, but at that point it was too late and I had already made those. But maybe next time. And also with the ribbons I can adjust it quite well and it might not be tight and super decorative like that, but it's good enough for me and I like the earring. I'm also really pleased with the door sign. Honestly, all of these are absolute wins. I really love them. I love how this super cheap marker from the drugstore came in and saved the day and looks so great. Yeah, super happy. And last, but of course not least, the purple choker as well. Yeah, as I said at the end of the making of the thing, I really like how the purple of the ribbon fits in with the darker shades of the rose. Not 100%, but I think that is part of the charm because it looks like something that has been in a family for ages. And I like it when my things look like heirlooms. And yeah, that's it. I hope you were somewhat inspired. Thank you so much for watching. I hope we'll meet again. And yeah, have a lovely day. Bye.